English is the official language of Nigeria. Togo sits right below a country called Burkina Faso. We should visit Maseru, which is the capital of Lesotho. Kenya, Chad, Malawi, Congo, Zimbabwe, Sudan, Gabon, Morocco, Mali, Uganda, and Comoros, Rwanda, Ethiopia, let's go. Cote d'Ivoire, Mozambique, Central African Republic, Cameroon, South Africa, Sierra Leone, and Senegal. So many places I wanna go, and I hope that you'll be coming along. We can go all around the world. We'll visit every corner of this earth. We'll go all around the world. You and I will visit everywhere. Yup, still in Africa, that's right, you guessed it. It's a huge continent, of course we haven't left yet. Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Equatorial Guinea. Can't wait to pay a visit to all three. Cape Verde, Eritrea, and Djibouti. Madagascar, I remember that movie. Let's see Tanzania and Swaziland. Tunisia, Somalia, and South Sudan. Sao Tome and Principe are really beautiful islands, I've got to say. Can't wait to inhale the air of Seychelles. Some more beautiful islands where I want to sail. Mauritania, Libya, and Liberia. Where are we going next? After that is Algeria. Egypt has a rich history. We should visit the pyramids, what a sight to see. Mauritius, Angola, and Gambia. Western Sahara, now we're leaving Africa. So many places I want to go, and I hope that you'll be coming along. Samoa, Solomon Islands in Australia. Those are places I wanna take ya. Let's explore Micronesia. These are the Pacific Islands, Fiji Islands, Marshall Islands, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu. Can't forget New Zealand. Papua New Guinea is gorgeous. Kiribati is also known as Kiribati. Who wants to come along with us too? Venezuela, Guyana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Uruguay, Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia. So many places I wanna go, and I hope that you'll be coming along. We can go all around the world. We'll visit every corner of this earth. We'll go all around the world. You and I will visit everywhere. Tourists visit the Mayan temple in Mexico. We'll head there after Trinidad and Tobago. I love St. Lucia, Panama, Nicaragua. The first chocolate bar was invented in Guatemala. Rihanna is a singer that we all know. But did you know she was born in Barbados? It's so beautiful, just like Jamaica, just like Cuba, Honduras, and Grenada. El Salvador, Costa Rica, Dominica. After Belize, I'm gonna go see Canada. Guess what? Pirates of the Caribbean was shot in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In my last song, I toured the United States. Now I'm all over the world and it feels great. Haiti is where I was born. If you don't mind, I have to throw that in the song. St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, Bahamas, Dominican Republic. We can go all around the world. We'll visit every corner of this earth. Switch it up. Taiwan, Iran, Iraq, India, and Malaysia. Cambodia, Georgia, China, Indonesia, Syria, Mongolia, South Korea, and North Korea are on the continent of Asia. Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. We plan to travel to many different lands, like the Philippines and Turkmenistan. Wait, slow down, this tour is moving quickly, man. Okay, I'll give more information, now that's a good plan. Did you know cinnamon originated in Sri Lanka? Nope, but I love it on my French toast, so thank you. Let's go to Qatar, then Nepal, and Singapore. Great, but don't forget the info, give a bit more. Do you like mocha? I love mocha. That originated in Yemen. Pass me a big cup. Oman and the United Arab Emirates both have very hot climates. East Timor, Myanmar, Saudi Arabia, Maldives, we're going really far. Israel, Lebanon, Bhutan, Kuwait, Jordan, Brunei, let's go miles away. Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Laos, Bangladesh, Bahrain, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, Armenia, take me away. Come on, let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. Come on, let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. Come on, let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. Come on, let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. In Italy, we'll see the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Roman Colosseum. Let's visit Latvia, Albania, Austria, and then we'll go to Belgium. We can run with the bulls and then take a look at Pablo Picasso's artwork in Spain. We'll take the train from Serbia to Slovakia to Slovenia and spend a few days in the Ukraine. We'll see the Pope in Vatican City and then Sweden and Romania, and then we'll go to Turkey and Ireland. We'll walk around all day in Kosovo, Monaco, San Marino, and Norway. Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England make up the United Kingdom. A place very well known for watches and cheese and chocolates is the country of Switzerland. The scenery is beautiful in Portugal. In Poland, you'll get more than an Eiffel. Speaking of Eiffel, let's go to France. We can look at the Eiffel Tower and stare at it for hours. Croatia, Bulgaria, let's have fun in Iceland and Estonia. Let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. Come on, let's go, everybody, let's go. All around the world. Switch it up. We'll go to Russia and the Czech Republic and Cyprus. I promise you'll love it. Bosnia and Herzegovina. We'll party in Greece and Andorra. Liechtenstein, Lithuania. Let's see Belarus and Macedonia. Luxembourg, Malta, Moldova. You're invited, so come on over. The Netherlands, Finland, Montenegro. Germany, Hungary, Denmark, let's go. So many places I wanna go, and I hope that you'll be coming along. We can go all around the world. We'll visit every corner of this earth. We'll go all around the world. You and I will visit everywhere. We can go all around the world. We'll visit every corner of this earth. We'll go all around the world. You and I will visit everywhere. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. How are you all doing this fine and glorious Wednesday morning? Yay!
Hello.
Thank you all for coming.
great.
Hello. Good. That's what I like to hear. So I thought I'd start by talking about some of your concerns and address them and where to find the answers to them. A lot of you don't have any concerns. A lot of you are just happy to be here, like me. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. I love what I do, and the fact that I now get to do it at home is even cooler. Although it's harder, it's still kind of cool that my office is, I teach for 4 different community colleges. So, not having to take the time to travel all around, although it's kind of fun to see the places. It's kind of nice, actually. At first I was bummed. I was like, oh man. And then I was sad because I wasn't putting miles on my car, and I love my car. And so my car and I had to have some love time. So we've been driving around, my car and I. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of liking it. Although I would really like to go to Citrus because it's close to me. I also teach in Victorville, which I'm not looking forward to having to go back and drive to, because traffic can be a little prickly at times. Fullerton College, and I teach for Chaffee, but I actually teach at the California Institution for Women, which is the women's prison located in Chino. So that's a little bit about where I am, but so I'm so excited. Let's see, no concerns. How much work? Yeah, tons of work, tons and tons of work. If you read any of my reviews, I like to give out lots of work, but it's manageable. for the most part, in my opinion, as humble as it is. And I'll talk a little bit more about like the work and stuff like that. Let's see. Yeah, my concern is getting Zoom right too. Yeah. I blow it all the time, which is why at the beginning I was like, hey, I hope you guys can hear this, because it's been almost a year. Yeah, it's almost been a year. In 4 more weeks it'll be a year since I've been doing this, for a full year, and I still mess up all the time. So just be patient with me. I'll be patient with you, and we'll get through this together. I'm a fairly reasonable human being, contrary to what my syllabus might say. I'm actually fairly reasonable. So just keep me in the loop. Let me know what's going on, and we'll work something out. Question was, is there homework assignments agenda available to print for the whole semester? Yes. Let me show you where that can be found. Let's see here. Right, so hopefully you're seeing my course, my website, which is should have been linked in the what do you call that? The intro letter I sent. Of course, I might have sent you the wrong intro letter. So it's just sites.google.com/view/pitsthenerd.home, and this will be linked in today's lecture notes, so you'll get to see it again. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, down here, all of my course syllabuses, you just have to find the one you're in, which is Citrus. And if you pop this out into another window, then it makes it printable. So if it ever refreshes, that is, there it goes. So you just have to click on the one. And so this is pretty much it. All of these links should be working, hopefully. Yes. So last fall, I became aware that the publisher, actually not even a publisher, I guess the host of the website that I used for my online educational resource textbook, was deciding he didn't want to do it anymore. So I emailed him and I was like, dude, you can't abandon me now. I use your book exclusively. And he was like, well, if you want it, here it is. So I was like, oh man, cool. And then I got into it and I was like, oh man, this sucks. So all the links should work. If they don't, just shoot me an email and be like, yo, Pitts, this link is broken. It goes to the wrong place. But I think I got them all up and working. The nice thing is that, I've got 4 weeks of students already using it. So because they have to get to you. They have to get, they started before you. Fullerton started almost a month ago. So they're a good 3-4 weeks ahead of you. So they've already clicked on these links, thank goodness. So I know the first ones work, but if you wanted to get ahead in the reading, this is where you would do it. And then these are the different assignments. They don't link to anything, but you can at least see what's coming up. Let's see, the assignments drop on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock in the morning. So like this morning, like dark, and they're due on Tuesdays at 11:59 p.m. And there is a method to my madness. Of course, I've explained the method because I've had to go through like online training for each of the 4 colleges. And now I have a lot of people who are doing the same thing as me. But when I started, because I taught online before I taught COVID online, I was actually teaching online for Chafee, not at the prison, but for Chafee. But since anyways. And so I adopted this because after my first semester of teaching online and realizing like a typical person and having spent years in school, college and school myself, I know I'm a procrastinator. And so I was like, I like taking my weekends. I have people that I hang out with, and the only time that they're all available is on the weekend. So I'd be spending my Sundays like answering frantic emails from students who are trying to do their work. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to move the deadline to Tuesdays. So yes, your assignments are due on Tuesdays, which is cool in my opinion, because that means I get to theoretically have my weekend to, you know, avoid my cell phone because I do like to turn it off every once in a while. So if I don't get back to you on the weekend, I know you're in like panic mode, but just relax. I will get back to you. If you're really, really, really concerned, then shoot me another email and be like, yo, I need to know right now. And if my phone is on, then I'll answer you. If it's not on, then you'll have to wait until I turn it back on. But nothing is due until Tuesday. And for the most part, the only things that will lock you out of turning them in are the quizzes and the discussions. So if it's not a quiz and it's not a discussion, and it's just like an assignment like your cloud activity or the notes that I'm going to talk about today, then you'll have, I mean, you don't have to turn it in on time, and it's not late until I grade it. And with, 212 students, it could take me a while. So don't panic. And, if it's my fault, like I said, I'm fairly reasonable. I know when it's my fault. So, and if I forget that it was my fault, then just shoot me an email after I give you a score that says, -1 for being late or whatever, and be like, yo, Pitts, it's your fault it was late because you didn't get back to me, kind of thing. And I'll be like, okay, here's your point back. Anyways, that's a long way of saying there's the homework assignments agenda. If you, yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm sorry that you have to go back to work, and I am unmotivated to watch recorded sessions, which is why I, come to them live. Just kidding. Just do what you can. I've had students who say they don't listen to them and they do fine. So it just, you have to stay motivated to keep up with the reading and the assignments and activities, and stuff like that. So, and if not, then, find a buddy. You're all going to be assigned into a group. So hopefully somebody in your group can, reach out to you if you look like you're, or you can reach out to them. Sorry if you missed something and you don't want to listen to the, Miss Pitts drone on for days. So the amount of work, yeah. that was me. I was like, how funny, that's my thing. Yeah, my concern personally is sending the right message to the right people. I apologize to those of you who came to my meet and greet, which was supposed to be, oh shoot, I'll get it right. Of course, that'll be just about the time we all go back. So anyways, welcome. Let's see here. Also, linked in here, definitely at the top, I don't know if I fixed the link at the bottom, is the course syllabus. This is just the stuff that's specific to your class, although I did not change that it's not optional. It is optional. I clarified that. I didn't think it was. I thought we were required to be here. Well, I'm required to be here, but this is just a dedicated time for you. And if you can't make it, then just go ahead and listen to the recording. Because a lot of times, maybe not today, but a lot of times I'll have little nuggets that will help you be successful. Not always. Okay, not often. Sometimes. So, well, anyways. All right. So, already did that. So welcome. Already talked about why I'm here. This is a picture of a few years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. I started teaching at Fullerton College. I used to teach there on Fridays. I taught all day Friday from like 9 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. 3 classes, and 2 of them were labs, and I had like breaks in between and stuff. But anyways, I was trying to figure out, what to watch on Netflix. I had binge watched one show, and I went back and I saw this thing, and it was put together by the Flat Earth Society, about the fact that the Earth is flat. And this is the flat Earth model right here. So this reminds me to kind of embrace the change. But anyways, welcome to physical geography. It is the Pitts. That's me. When I was a kid, I hated it, but now I'm embracing it, kind of like the Earth is flat. And I'm here because I'm very, very, very excited and passionate to share my love of geography with you. So, all right, there is no required book. The chapters are hyperlinked in that list that I gave you. It's all free. The bookstore used to have copies of this particular book. I don't know if they have it. You can always use Google, which is kind of nice. Highly recommend and encourage you have like some colored pens or pencils and a notebook. I love that I have worksheets here. That's another story that apparently I need to change my little intro syllabus, intro to the class thing, because yeah, that's pretty funny. These are your student learning outcomes, yada yada yada. Show up, please. I'm a lot funnier when I have an audience. You're responsible to drop the class if you don't feel like you're going to be successful anymore. I'm confuzzled about whether or not you can or can't ask for an excused withdrawal anymore. So you might want to figure that out. I think you have until like April to withdraw from the class and get a W, but I don't think you can petition for an excused withdrawal anymore. So just keep that in mind. If it ever comes up, shoot me an email, and I will try and stay on top of you and be like, hey, you haven't turned this in yet. Don't forget, assignments are due, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll get another 112 emails saying, I'm working on it. Oh, I totally forgot. I'm sorry. Thank you. So don't cheat. I know it's tempting. I know it's right there. It's really easy. But if I catch you, I get very angry and frustrated and upset and then you get a 0, and you don't need a 0 on an assignment. So just don't. If you feel pressured, I mean, most of the time, we feel pressured to get something done in a timely thing, and so sometimes just copying somebody else's stuff is easier. Send me an email. Hey, Pitts, I'm not going to be able to turn this in. Can I have another day? Can I have another 2 days? I'd much rather give you a couple of days to turn something in than to kind of get you in that you got, bounced on the head or whopped on the head by cheating. Because it bugs me. I know it's part of academia, it's part of the process, but and it happens every semester. I say it every semester. There's always someone who, there's probably, 3 people who get away with it, and the one person I catch every semester. So don't be the person I catch. So either be really good at it and be confident in the fact that you're good at it, or just don't do it. And, keep me in the loop about needing more time to do stuff. There are no late quizzes, projects, or extra credit accepted. I don't even think I do extra credit anymore. I will drop the lowest test and a quiz. So that goes with the idea that you can't turn those in late. Oh, I also drop a discussion. So in case something comes up and you don't get it done, then the lowest one will get dropped. So if you only got your your own personal post in but didn't get your response posts in, then and it only happened once, then that one will get dropped. So that'll accommodate for any emergencies, or if you miss something or you're not like all there that particular time. So try and get everything done, and then the lowest one will get dropped. Let's see here. Oh, the one thing I wanted to tell you is that this slideshow, I know it looks like you're like, gosh, she's going through this really fast. I'm going to give you the link to the slideshow. It'll be on the course webpage under Zoom meetings. There'll be a link to the slides that I present if I present them, and then there'll also be a link to the recording that the Zoom people put together. All right, so one of the things I have my students do is what I affectionately call illustrated notes. So my belief, and lots of research has suggested, sorry, this thing is bugging me. I had to go on campus this morning, and you have to get like screened for COVID. And you can walk around campus as long as you have your little orange bracelet on. Anyways, so much research has gone into the idea that if you use color and you interact and you make connections to the material and you kind of bring in extra stuff, that you'll be able to recall the information a lot faster. One of the reasons I like to push my students to do this note-taking approach is it is research-based, but more importantly, you used to be able to use your notes on tests and quizzes and stuff. And now that you're, taking them at home, it's even easier. So I feel like if you do the notes and you get them, all assembled nicely, then you'll have something to use when you take your quizzes and tests. I won't have notes every week. There's only a couple of them. This first week, there's one on what I like to call 5 squared, 4 squared, 3 squared, 2 squared, 1. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So what does this look like? Well, these are illustrated notes for my earth science class. I teach earth science for Chaffey College. And I use the notes from my geography classes, which is what I teach everywhere else, in my earth science class. And then in my earth science class, in my geography class, I use my earth science notes. In my earth science class, I use my geography notes, so that you're not tempted to just go to this slide and just copy this and turn it in. So the idea is that you have content. So you've got whatever the notes are supposed to be about for that particular time period. Typically, it's like a lecture or a particular like assignment. And so you have content, and that's, not only what's presented, but like examples and stuff like that. Then it's organized. So it's kind of like grouped together. So you can see on this mineral one, they've kind of drawn lines in between each of the properties of minerals and kind of group them together. You can also group with arrows and stuff like that. This one isn't as well, but you can kind of see that they're kind of bunched together. It's not just the giant list. So you want to kind of break it up a little bit, kind of create little pockets, but you don't necessarily have to put boxes around them. I can see that this is all uniformitarianism and this is original horizontality. So that's organization. I is for interaction. Interaction is going to be pictures, drawings, opinions, making connection to the material. So for example, in geography, you can say, oh, I visited a place like this once, blah, blah, blah. Or you can have additional examples. So this week we're going to talk about the 5 themes of geography, and one of the themes is place. And so, I'll give you like 3, and then maybe you give me like 5. So the idea is that you're spending time with the material beyond just writing down whatever is presented to you. So that's interaction. And then the last one's neatness. And so does it look like, you can access the material relatively quickly, and that it's, easy enough that you're not like scrambling to try and find it. These are good examples, but a lot of times students try to pack everything onto a single sheet. What I talk about a lot of times will not fit on a single sheet. Some people can get it to fit on a single sheet. It's not a challenge to make you fit it on a single sheet. It's not a challenge to make you fit it on 3 sheets. I have no minimum. I have no maximum. Notes are a personal thing. And so however long it takes you to get all the material with notes in it and with examples and interaction is however long it takes you. I've had students ask me, can I use can I type them up? Yes. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Because a lot of times when we type, we don't get that connectivity. It's kind of hard you'll just end up with a list. And so the organization will look very list-like. So maybe do an outline, like a formal outline would work, or an informal outline with like bullets and stuff like that. But don't just, don't just create a list of just line after line after like sentences, like have some sort of organization to it. So, and then make sure you get in like pictures and examples and stuff like that. Okay, so that's notes and how I'd like the notes to be done. There is a rubric that goes with it. When you look at the assignment, it should allow you to see the rubric so you can see. And I've kind of spelled out the there's 4 parts to it mainly. And the last part is just, did you turn it in on time? You get a whole point for that. Woohoo! So yeah. So that's notes. All right, so let's get down to it. All right, so this is what I like to call my 5 squared, 4 squared, 3 squared, 2 squared, 1 squared. This started out 3.5 years ago or something like that, 4 years ago when I started teaching community college as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 geography. Woohoo! And over time, it's kind of gotten expanded, and that's because I want to make sure that I give you a good intro to the class and kind of what we're going to be talking about, and kind of my teaching style, so that you can decide whether or not you're going to stick around. You're like, I don't have any choice. You're the only teacher at Citrus College who teaches intro to geography. So you're kind of stuck with me unless I get fired. Please don't get me fired. I like my job. So anyways, so here we go. So the first one is the 5 themes of geography. And this superhero guy, his name is Mr. Help, and he's a superhero because he wears a bow tie, like me and Bill Nye the Science Guy. And his name, Mr. Help, MRHELP, is a mnemonic device for remembering the 5 themes of geography, which are movement, region, human-environment interaction, location, and place. And so let's talk about each of those. So movement. Movement is how things get around. And in geography, there are mainly 2 branches of geography. There's the physical side, which I'm more a physical geographer. So plate tectonics, volcanoes, earthquakes, that's what this class is about. The physical aspects of geography versus the human side of geography, which used to be called cultural geography. Now it's called human geography, which is more about like ideas, religion, languages, transportation-y type things that are created by people, ideas, fads, all that stuff. So movement in a physical sense is how the planet is arranged, how does the air move, what are the water currents, stuff like that, plate tectonics, all that kind of good stuff. Geographers are concerned with that. And then on the cultural or human side, we've got all the rest of these things. Movement of people, so immigration, emigration, resources, fads, like, how did the iPad get from, the United States to all over the world? And even within the United States, how did the idea spread that people had to have it? Like everybody's got to have one, right? I mean, you're a nobody unless you have one. I don't have one, so I'm a nobody, and I like it that way. All right. The second part, the R, is region, and there are 3 types of regions. There are formal regions, which are regions that we all kind of agree upon: states, countries, cities, things like that. For the most part, we agree upon. Yes, there's of course going to be, infighting about where the line is and stuff like that. But for the most part, when I say Guatemala, we're all pretty sure where Guatemala's at, right? Or we could look at a map and say, oh, there's Guatemala, or the United States, or Canada, or whatever. Then there are these things we call functional regions. These are made up of a central place surrounded by the area that's affected by it. So commuting distances, milk routes, urban areas. So like when we talk about the Los Angeles metropolitan area, okay, that's a functional region. right? And depending on what we're talking about will determine kind of sort of what region we're talking about. One of the things I'm currently working on is a project where I'm looking at the potential for using solar as an energy source in Southern California in the Los Angeles area. Now, what you have to understand is SoCal Edison and the Metropolitan Water District and the Department of Water and Power control for Los Angeles, control everything all the way up into, you know, Bishop, south of Lake Tahoe area, because that's where they get all their energy from. So that would be the functional region. So I'm currently struggling with scope creep, as my housemates would call it, which is the idea. I started with this small idea, ooh, Los Angeles, and now it's kind of gotten to this, oh, maybe I should do like everything that's impacted the functional region of Los Angeles rather than just the formal region of Los Angeles. And then we have what we call vernacular regions, which are areas that are identified by people. It's a cultural construct. It's a perception of what we're talking about. For example, the South. So when we talk about the South in the United States, you know, are we talking about, you know, the Confederates? Are we talking about areas that were predominantly cotton growing, or the Middle East? How do we define the Middle East? I mean, we all have an idea of what the Middle East is like. You know, it's hot, mostly desert. The primary religion is Muslim. There's lots of oil, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right? If we talk about Southern California, you say, I'm from Southern California. And they go, oh, you mean like palm trees and movie stars? And you're like, yeah, sure. I've never seen a palm tree or a movie star, but that's all right. You know, I'm from Southern California, right? Everybody gets an idea of what it's about, even if it's not about palm trees and movie stars, right? There's lots of earthquakes. So that's what we mean by a vernacular region. The next one is human environment interaction. It is a two-way street. So we impact the environment, which hopefully you are all aware of. We drive cars, we use energy, we build dams so that we can create energy. But the environment also impacts us, where we live, how we dress, when we go outside, whether we use coal burning stoves or wood burning stoves, right? So it impacts us also. And so it's kind of like this interaction in a two-way direction. So that's what human environment interaction. Then there's location. And there's two types of location. There's absolute location, which would be your latitude and longitude, or an address. So it's like one spot on a map. Like I can type it into my GPS and find it. And then there's what we call relative location, which is what it's near, or what I like to affectionately call how I would describe where I'm at to somebody on an international flight from, say, Tokyo to Los Angeles. You know, oh, I'm from Diamond Bar. And they're like, where's that? 30 miles east of Los Angeles. Oh, you're from East LA. Sure. So that's what relative location is. All right. And place, the P. So this gets back to our roots of geography, which is the physical characteristics. Are there mountains? Are there rivers? What's the climate like? What's the vegetation? And the human characteristics of place. Is it rural? Is it urban? Is it suburban? What are the religions? What language is predominantly spoken there? How do people get around? Do they ride a bike? Do they drive a car? Do they use their scooters? I spent some time in Santa Barbara, and a lot of people ride their bikes around. And I'm like, where are all these people riding bikes to and from? I mean, it's like everywhere. I was like, dang. And it's not just the college students. It's kind of weird because, you know, it's kind of college-y town. But anyways, so that's what place is about. All right, there are 4 spheres of geography. So if we took, you know, the Earth, and there are 4 different things that geographers are concerned with. The biosphere, that's all the life, so plants, animals. There's the hydrosphere, all the water, oceans, rivers, lakes, rain, mist. There's the geosphere, the stuff we walk on, also known as the lithosphere. Litho means rock. So that's landforms, rocks, soil, all that good stuff. And then there's the atmosphere, that thin, very fragile layer of gas that surrounds us and makes us different from everyone else. I missed a call. Who's it from? Hold on. Oh, sorry. Oh, I hate when it buzzes in my pocket like that. I apologize. I won't let it happen again. I put it away. All right. So, and then where all of those things kind of interact is kind of the intersection of geography. It's kind of like, you know, these are all of the elements of Earth and kind of where they, well, that's not true. No, geographers can just talk about this. It doesn't have to be about, yeah. Oh, this is just another picture, you know, talks more at length about the different spheres of Earth. So there are also 4 spheres of the actually there's 5 spheres of the atmosphere. Dumb. Oh, so oh, look, I have slides. I should have put up the little I don't know if you know that you can do this, the little like which slide is coming up next view, so that I would have known, and then I could have anyway. So the atmosphere, there's 5 layers to the atmosphere, and the biosphere, it includes all of the dead ones and the microscopic ones and the things in the air. So all plants, animals in the sea and on the land and in the air. And all the water, including the vapory stuff and the rain and the rocks, the different types of rocks. So we'll talk more about each of these spheres throughout the course. So this is just kind of like a broad overview of all the things we're going to talk about. That's why I'm going through so fast. Okay, then there are 4 types of projections, and we will spend an entire discussion about the types of projections. So you just need to know that there are 4. There's the interrupted ones and the planar ones and the conic ones and the cylindrical ones, and 3 different types of scale. And more in my lab class, which you guys don't have, but so there's the idea of large versus small, and then there's graphic verbal ratio fraction, which is, you know, how we write our scale, which is just when we look at a map, what is the difference between the real world and what we're looking at on the map is what scale is about. And then there's also the idea of, you know, at what scale we're looking at the problem. Are we looking at it on a local scale? Are we looking at it on a regional scale? Are we looking at it on a global scale? So if, you know, a tree falls in the forest, what scale is that going to impact, right? Obviously, it's going to impact the local environment. Obviously, the tree fell down and probably damaged other things around it. But does that impact the region, and does that impact the globe? Okay, if it's just a tree, probably not. But if it's a nuclear blast, then yeah, although it happened in Chernobyl, it, you know, covers a sizable portion of Russia, and you know, for a little bit, was a global kind of situation. Not too bad, but if it were a bigger blow, then maybe. Okay. There are 2 important ways of delineating the world. They are latitude and longitude. So latitudes are also known as parallels. It's one of the confusing things in addition to scale. Latitude and longitude are confusing, and I'll talk a little bit about that, if not right now, in a couple of seconds here. Lines of latitudes start at the equator, go up to the poles and down to the poles. They are also known as parallels. I think I already said that. And that's because they're equally spaced. They run east and west, but they measure how far north and south you are. And of course, they're going to get shorter as you get closer to the poles, because just like if you were on a ball, a basketball or any kind of ball, as you get closer and I draw a circle, it's going to be a smaller circle. So the other one is longitude. These are also known as meridians. Think prime meridian. They run north-south, but they measure how far you are east and west. And as you can see in the picture here, they are further apart at the equator than they are the poles. In fact, they converge at the poles, so they are on top of each other at the poles. They are all equal in length. They are also known as great halves or great circles. So these are important lines of latitude. So this might be something you include on your notes. So the North Pole, the Arctic Circle, the Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Capricorn, Antarctic Circle, as I like to call it, the anti-Arctic. Anti means against, the anti-Arctic Circle, and the South Pole. And then for lines of longitude, we've got the prime meridian, which is located at 0 degrees longitude. It separates the Earth into eastern and western hemispheres, or halves. And the other one is the international dateline. It's where a new day begins. You'll notice that it zigzags through the ocean between North America and Asia, so between Alaska and Russia. And it zigzags to keep certain islands and countries in a particular day. Because if you are existing here, right, and your neighbor is, you know, the next island over, and they're on a different day, then that would be kind of sucky. So it's hard for trade and so the international dateline kind of does this zigzag thing to keep certain places in the same time zone, essentially. Or in this particular case, it's not even time zone, it's a day. So it's midnight on one day here, and it's, you know, 12 midnight here, and, you know, 12 a.m. here, and the next day. And so, it gets a little complicated. But just know that it exists out there at 180 degrees longitude, give or take a little zigzagging. All right, so there are two main confusions in geography. One of them is latitude and longitude, and the other one is large and small scale. So latitude, and I used to do these in front of class and everybody would always laugh at me, but the way I learned latitude and longitude was by doing jumping jacks. And so latitude lines go like this, longitude lines go like this. So latitude, longitude, latitude. No? Okay. Yeah. Latitude, longitude, latitude, longitude. See, I can have my little stick figure guy do them. All right. The other one is large and small scale. So the reason is that we look at these numbers, like if I were to put numbers up here, you'd be like, but that's a bigger number. So this over here might be 1 to 25,000. And this one over here is 1 to 1,000,000. And you're like, but this is a larger number. So shouldn't that be a larger scale? No, just like, you know, a quarter of a pie is a smaller piece. I mean, a quarter of a pie is a smaller piece than a half of a pie. So the way I like to remember it is large scale, lots of details. So you're going to see you're going to see, you know, individual houses, or in this particular case, high school buildings, right? You're going to see individual little streets. You're going to see, you know, the fact that these roads don't go straight through town, that they actually, you know, kind of wind around the town a little bit, right? Versus a small scale map, small details, right? Small details means that this city that we used to be all zoomed in at, you know, this guy right here, okay, or wherever he is, it's actually 2 different maps, pets. Oops. That you only get to see all the big things, like big cities. You don't see individual houses. that would have to be on a large scale map. So a large scale would be like 1 to 24,000, and a small scale would be like 1 to a million, right? But it's confusing because we associate big numbers with large things because we don't think about the fact that it's a fraction of a thing. So 1 to 100 is a much bigger piece than 1 to a million, which would be a small scale. So what is geography? This is one of the things. This is the one things. Remember I said it was 5 squared, 4 squared. Okay. One of the things that a lot of people leave off their notes, and I have to, of course, pound it into them in my feedback. Hey, you forgot to give me the definition of geography. So geography is not geology. If you would have asked my parents up until the time they passed what I was, they would have said I was a geologist. I even went and got my master's degree. And at my master's ceremony, I said, I'm hoping now my parents realize I'm a geographer. And no kidding, my dad looked at me and goes, what? I thought you were a geologist. And I was like, see, it doesn't matter. I'm like standing here, graduated at the top of my class. I was in the top 1% of my graduate class in geography. And my dad said, I thought you were a geologist. You took a lot of geology classes. And I was like, oh my geez, what do I have to do? Get a PhD? So it's not geology, which is the study of Earth. Geography is the study of Earth and how humans interact with it. So my dad was right, kind of. I was a geology major when I went to, when I first started community college. I thought that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. Actually, it's not what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a college student who worked at Disneyland for the rest of my life. It didn't quite work out, but I did have a major. It was never geology, believe it or not. It was biology. It was chemistry. But I took a lot of earth science classes because I liked earth science. I liked geology. I liked astronomy. I liked stuff like that. And then I went to community college, and all of the classes that I thought I wanted to take were full. So I walked into a physical geography class and I fell in love, because geography is the study of Earth and how humans interact with it. So it was like taking earth science and interjecting how that impacts us and how we impact it. And I was like in love. I was like, oh. And so that was my aha moment. And from that point forward, I was a geography major. It didn't matter how many other things I was double majoring in college when I went to Cal Poly. It was always geography and something else. And so that's why I have this and thing going on, because I'm like, it's always been an and for me. So it's the study of Earth and how humans interact with it, right? So, okay. This is a video. Back in the 70s, there was a dude, his name was Carl Sagan. He was a professor at Cornell, which ironically is where Bill Nye the Science Guy went to school. And but Carl Sagan was like all over the place. He was like the Bill Nye of the 70s, in the fact that everybody knew Carl Sagan and his ideas about cosmology, the origin of the planet, astronomy. So he was like this big name in like Earth and space science. And he wrote a book. It was called The Pale Blue Dot. And then they made this video where he's narrating. It's not a book. It's more like a poem, or it's not even a poem. It's like a short story. And so I wanted to show you the Pale Blue Dot. So here we go.
That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Oh, baby. Why did that get all small? Oh, because I hit the escape button. This is the one that is on the lecture that I did right now, which is why I think it's funny it says TBD. So you can also research these things if you need more. So the 5 themes of geography, the 4 spheres of Earth that we'll study, projections, types of scale, the map scale thingies. That's the graphic scale, verbal scale, vernacular scale. Vernacular scale. What the heck, Pitts? Graphic scale, fractional ratio scale, and verbal scale. That's the one that sounds like a little sentence. And there's an example of that in the slideshow, which I will link. 2 types of grid lines, latitude, longitude, 2 types of confusion, latitude, longitude, and the large and small scale, the definition of what is geography, and a little bit about pale blue dot. And then this should hopefully be a link to the old slideshow. That's a great link. Way to go, Pets. Hey, but that'll work. And then in here, the one thing I didn't say is down at the bottom, I like to put in, stuff that I should say, but sometimes I don't. So there's sometimes a lot of stuff down there in the notes section that you can throw into your notes in case I didn't say it, or you can just look up, examples and stuff like that. So here's the rubric for that, and that is going to be due on the 23rd at 11:59. So that's one assignment from this week. The other one is the Tools of a Geographer assignment. just nobody's favorite. So you're going to read an article and look at this resource and then answer some questions. And so there are more than 5 types of maps, so just pick your 5 favorite and describe what each one of them is. So here's an example, and then some questions, an article link, blah, blah, blah. Let me make sure that I have set this up. Yes, it should not be. Oh yeah, okay. So so basically you're going to do part 1, answer questions, part 2, answer questions, and then down here for the cartogram. So here's this thing, it's called the World Mapper. These are called cartograms. They're not maps. What they do is they expand or shrivel the boundaries of a country based on some particular thing. So this one is coronavirus mortality rates. So, and then it has a little discussion about where they got the information from and, you know, stuff like that. So, what this shows you is that there's a large problem apparently in India, in China, and it looks like in Mexico, you know, more than 5% of all the people who get the coronavirus in Mexico are dying. Looks like Libya. No, not Libya, sorry. Jordan. That's weird. Oh no, that's Egypt, sorry. That makes a little more sense, kind of, sort of, but not really. So so basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of these that you think is kind of interesting. So, so let me go back to this page here. So over here, you can pick anything from like identity. So for example, let's look at culture. So where Nobel Prizes in literature have come from, the places with the most UNESCO natural sites and heritage sites. Canada got all shriveled up. So you can look at religion, you can look at habitation. So like if you're interested in, you know, who has access to electricity versus who doesn't, population that is pagan, you know, lots of different things. So you're going to pick one of these cartograms and you're going to talk about it in this separate discussion. This isn't your discussion for the week. This is just, it's not a traditional discussion. It is shared, but this particular one, you're just going to post which map you think is the coolest and why. You don't have to reply to anybody for this particular discussion. This is not your weekly discussion. It's just the way we're going to kind of share the information. And so just put the map and why you chose to do that particular one. So yeah. So there's that part. All right, now, so that's the second assignment. So the first assignment was your notes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is really 5 squared, 4 squared, 3 squared, 2 squared, 1 squared. And then the tools of a geographer, which has an embedded cartogram. And then there is a weekly discussion on projections. So you're going to watch 3 videos and you're going to answer this question in your discussion. And there's a lot of consternation about discussions in my class, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's because I say things are due. For example, it says discussion posts are due Friday, replies are due on Tuesday at 11:59. But if you look at the due date for the assignment, it says the 23rd. And that's because this is an embedded deadline. So ideally, you will go to the discussion and you will put up your original post by Friday, at the latest Saturday. That'll give people the rest of Saturday and Sunday to reply to your post in case they only have weekends to work on stuff. And then your replies are due by Tuesday. Your replies need to be at least 18 hours apart between the time you put up your discussion post and the time you reply. And you need to put up 2 replies. So you're going to original post once, in this particular case, answer the question. Do you think it makes a difference if continent is on top and bottom, if it appears larger or smaller? You have to watch the videos, reference the videos, things like that. So you're going to put up your original post and it needs to be like 100 words or so. I say and so because, you know, more is better, but, you know, don't drivel on too long because no one will read your post except for me. And if I start crying, then that's bad because that means my eyes hurt too much because I've been reading too long. All right, so you're going to do that. And then you need to reply to 2 other people. But I want there to be at least 18 hours between the time you put up your post and the time you reply, because I, like you, when I started, there's a requirement that you guys, you know, interact with each other. It's like part of the educational process. And so one of the things they said we had to do when we went to this whole like rapid online COVID instruction last semester is everybody threw up these discussion posts. And I had used them, I had taken them. And when I started looking at them, I was like, that's what I would have done, because it said you need to post it on 2 different days. So at 11:58, 12:02. I was like, you little tricky leaky, you're thinking like I would. So they need to be at least 18 hours apart. So you'll notice it's not in the directions there. That's so I know that you were listening to my little thing here. That's see, nugget. Oh no, I'll put it up next time. I don't know why it's not in there. It should be there. So that's the discussion post, and I think, oh, and then there's a quiz, of course. So there's a little 20-point quiz. So you get multiple chances. So 3 attempts. This one is an average of your scores. That means that the pool of questions it's pulling from is very small. Sometimes it'll be the highest, sometimes it'll be the average. You'll get 10 minutes to answer the questions. And then you'll get to see your answers after your last attempt. So you won't get to see the answers until the quiz is over or your last attempt. So, so yeah. So those are the things you should work on this week. So notes, tools of geographer, quiz, discussion post. And then, of course, reading, because, you know everything better to do. All right. Now it is 12:22 and we've been talking too long. Darn it. I tried so hard. All right. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, have a nice week. If you do, again, stick around. I'm going to stop recording and let that start processing.